Have you noticed your paint starting to flake? Maybe a persistent musty smell you just can't seem to get rid of? Or perhaps your windows are crying every single morning. Here in the UK, with our wonderfully wet weather and aging housing stock, many of us brush these things off as normal, old house quirks. We just wipe down the glass, paint over the stain, and hope for the best. But here is the hard truth. Those tiny cosmetic issues are often the very first whispers of a massive structural problem. A problem that, if ignored, will rot your timbers, ruin your plaster, and cost you thousands of pounds to put right. I'm the building detective, and today we are going completely undercover. I'm going to show you the 10 warning signs that your property is harboring hidden damp. Grab your magnifying glass and let's start the investigation.
Sign 1. The crying windows, persistent condensation. Sign number 1 is probably the most ignored, persistent morning condensation. Now, a little bit of mist on a freezing January morning is normal, but if your windows are dripping wet every single day and water is pooling on the sills, you have an active moisture overload. This isn't just about water on glass. That same moisture is settling on your cold walls, your ceilings, and your furniture. Over time, it penetrates the window frames. If you have timber frames, they will eventually rot. If you have UPVC, the sealant fails. Condensation is the #1 cause of black mold in the UK, and buying a tiny dehumidifier isn't going to fix the root cause. You need to investigate your home's ventilation.
Sign 2. The old house odor. Moving on to sign number 2, the smell. You know the one. That heavy, earthy, musty scent that hits you when you open the understairs cupboard or walk into a spare room. People often call it old house smell. Let me be clear, houses are not supposed to smell like old potatoes. That musty odor is actually the gas emitted by actively growing mold and damp decay, often referred to as microbial volatile organic compounds. Even if your walls look pristine and perfectly painted, that smell means moisture is trapped somewhere. It's usually hiding beneath your floorboards, behind your kitchen cabinets, or brewing inside your wall cavities. Sign 3. The blistering paint trap. Sign number 3 is blistering, bubbling, or peeling paint. This is a classic open and shut case. Paint needs a dry surface to bond properly. When moisture gets inside a wall, whether it's from rain penetrating the brickwork outside or a slow plumbing leak inside, it eventually tries to evaporate. As that water vapor pushes outward, it hits the layer of paint. The paint acts like a balloon, trapping the moisture until it blisters and eventually peels off. The biggest mistake homeowners make here is buying damp seal paint and just slapping it over the top. All that does is trap the moisture deeper in the brickwork, forcing it to travel sideways and cause even more damage. Sign 4. Tide marks and fluffy white salts.
For sign number 4, look down. Are there yellow or brown tide marks on the lower half of your ground floor walls? Even more telling, do you see fluffy white powder pushing through the plaster?
This is a massive red flag for rising damp. In the UK, most houses have a damp-proof course, a physical barrier built into the walls to stop groundwater from soaking upward. If that fails, or if a new patio bridges over it, water wicks up the brickwork like a sponge. That white fluffy powder, those are hygroscopic salts drawn up from the earth. When the water evaporates, the salt is left behind, blowing the plaster right off your wall. This requires professional intervention and fast.
Sign 5. Lifting and peeling wallpaper. Sign number 5 is wallpaper that decides it no longer wants to be attached to your wall. You'll usually spot this at the seams or peeling away from the skirting boards and corners. Wallpaper paste is water-soluble. When the plaster behind the paper becomes damp, it effectively reactivates and degrades the adhesive. If your wallpaper is curling up, especially on external-facing walls or behind radiators, don't just glue it back down. Peel a bit back and investigate the plaster underneath. Sign 6. The tap test. Blown plaster. This brings us directly to sign number 6. Crumbling or blown plaster. Sometimes damp doesn't show up as a dark stain. It shows up as structural weakness. Here is a quick detective trick you can do right now. Tap your knuckles gently against the wall. A healthy wall will give a solid, dull thud.
If you tap an area and it sounds hollow, almost like an empty drum, the plaster is blown. This means prolonged dampness has caused the plaster to completely detach from the brickwork behind it. Sign 7. Spongy skirting boards. Sign number 7. Damaged skirting boards. Because moisture naturally succumbs to gravity, your skirting boards are often in the direct firing line. Keep an eye out for timber that looks warped, has cracked paint, or features dark, localized staining. If you press against the skirting board and it feels soft, spongy, or crumbles, you are looking at wet rot or, even worse, dry rot. If rot establishes itself in your skirting boards, it is a very short jump to your floor joists. And replacing structural floor joists is where repair bills start hitting the thousands. Sign 8. The hidden wardrobe menace. Sign number 8 is what I like to call the hidden menace. Have you ever pulled a bed, a wardrobe, or a sofa away from an external wall only to find a massive patch of black mold creeping up the back? This is a severe localized condensation problem. Furniture pushed tight against cold external walls prevents warm air from circulating. This creates a stagnant, freezing microclimate, the perfect breeding ground for mold. If you find this, it's a major sign that the ambient humidity in your home is far too high and your external walls are severely lacking thermal protection. Sign 9. Cold spots and localized damp patches. Sign number 9 involves looking at the bigger picture. Cold spots and localized damp patches higher up on your walls. Unlike rising damp, which comes from the ground up, penetrating damp comes from the outside in. If you have a damp patch in the middle of a wall, you need to go outside and play detective. Look directly on the other side of that patch. Is the exterior render cracked? Is the pointing missing between the bricks? Or is there a broken gutter pouring rainwater directly onto the wall every time it storms? The inside wall is just showing you the symptoms of an outside failure. Sign 10. The roofline warning, ceiling stains. Finally, sign number 10. The classic yellow or brown rings on your ceiling. Many people assume a ceiling stain is just a one-off issue from a heavy storm, so they paint over it with stain blocker. But water is incredibly lazy. It takes the path of least resistance. By the time a water stain appears on your bedroom ceiling, moisture has likely been traveling through your loft for weeks, soaking your insulation and rotting your roof timbers. If you see a ceiling stain, you need to check your roof tiles, inspect the lead flashing around your chimney, or get into the loft to find the leak immediately. The most important rule in the Building Detective's Handbook is this: damp is almost always a symptom, not the root cause. Washing away mold with bleach or painting over a watermark is like putting a plaster on a broken leg. The moisture is still there and it will keep attacking your home until you find exactly how it's getting in or why it isn't getting out. If you recognized any of these 10 signs in your own property, don't panic, but don't ignore them either. Investigate the source, fix the defect, and protect your home. If you found this investigation helpful and want to learn how to spot more hidden property defects before they drain your bank account, hit that subscribe button. I'm the Building Detective. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you at the next property.